Hey everybody, happy Wednesday. I hope you're doing well. It's Katie Sutton, intuitive channel and founder of Zen Within Academy and the New Earth's Now School, here with your Zen Withins'day update. Gosh, I feel like I have a lot of things to say and they're a little jumbled up in my brain because I am dealing with a tooth thing and it's a little painful. So I hope that this video comes out okay for you all. Side note, I will not have a video next week because my husband and I are going to Costa Rica. This one will have to do for the next couple of weeks. So let's talk about the energies. Let's talk about what's going on. Okay. So post eclipse, we are now fully in the integration period. We are post Mercury retrograde. Things are moving forward again, probably a little slowly, more slowly than you would like, but they're starting to move forward again. And the big themes that I'm working on right now with people is emotional intimacy and safety. And it's interesting because this was a really big eclipse for me. And I had a very distinct shift of a release of a lot of energies of deep seated fear in my body and my nervous system. And after those released, there was this new level of safety that I felt in my body and all of these beautiful divine feminine codes anchored that I am now able to activate in session with people. And it's been really interesting. And this experience that I had of releasing this fear happened in the middle of the night several nights ago. And in the middle of it, I also had the experience of Archangel Michael coming behind me and holding space for me. Like I could see him standing behind me with his wings outstretched, and he was holding space for me to release this deep fear. And it was way bigger than me, it was ancestral. It was, and the word I want to use is primordial, meaning that it's probably rooted in the feminine collective. And as that was releasing, there was also all this shame that was releasing too. And I released all these lifetimes where I was basically either imprisoned or hospitalized and called crazy for doing the work that I do now. And it was really intense. And ever since then, even though I'm going through this kind of tooth thing and it's the end of this infection that I've been clearing, I'm working my way back to the root of it, so to speak. There is still this feeling of hope and optimism. And oh my gosh, there is a sense of relief because I've turned a corner here on an emotional and a physical level that I've been working on for a long time. And I think some of you might be feeling the same way. I think this eclipse was really significant, and I think it's bringing in a lot of change and a lot of really distinct shifts. And you might be having a little bit of trouble integrating that. You might be feeling a little emotionally overwhelmed. You might be feeling a little confused about what your next steps are. And that's okay. That's part of the energy that we're in right now. And so let's talk about this idea of emotional intimacy and safety and what I'm seeing as I'm working with clients, because I think this is very important for people to understand. And I think it's bigger than just people that are in a female body. I think it's also applicable to the masculine. So during this eclipse, as this shift in the divine feminine energies on the planet came in, what we released was a whole bunch of shame and abuse patterning. And specifically shame and abuse patterning that was directed towards feminine energy. Okay. I'm not just going to say directed just to female bodied people, but to feminine energy. And feminine energy is deeply feeling, it is intuitive, it is emotional, it is this very energetic, this intuitive, energetic connection, if you will. And that is what has been getting a healing in this moment. And so, as this abuse energy has cleared out, what has been very interesting is that we are clearing out the fear and the shame and the guilt that has been the result of that abuse energy. And so, that's what we're all dismantling now. And so, as people are showing up in session with me, they're showing up and they are having all this armoring here in their upper body. And this armoring is there to protect themselves against this abuse energy that we just started dismantling or we dismantled during the eclipse. And so they're showing up with these big ornate breastplates and shields and all kinds of things in their field that they are ready to release. But in order to release them, what I have to do is get into their emotions because their emotions hold the key to what it is that they've created armor for. So oftentimes what I find is that there's deep anger, there's deep shame, there's deep frustration, there's deep grief, there's deep guilt, right? And being in a female body, they don't feel safe. Maybe being in a masculine body, they don't feel safe to be in their emotions. And so they've just armored everything up and they've really gotten themselves stuck here. And then that armor has created a sense of when they are out in the world, that's what people are reacting to in their fields, right? That they're all armored up and that they then can't really drop into deep emotional intimacy with people. Okay. And when they can't drop into deep emotional intimacy with people because they're all armored up, they then continue to expand on their betrayal wounds and their fears and their unworthiness about human connection. And when they do that, they build even stronger armor and then they feel very separated and very disconnected from one another. Okay. And so that's really what I mean when I talk about emotional intimacy and safety and us needing to de-armor ourselves so that we can be in deeper connection with one another. Because it doesn't matter if you have all the best tools in the toolbox and you are taking good care of yourself and you are loving yourself. We are relational beings and we need to be in community and connection with one another. I'm sorry about the background noise. There's something going on in the park here. And when we're not in community and connection with one another, and we don't feel that deep sense of safety and emotional intimacy, we are missing some inherent need in our being. And so this is what we're working on right now. We're working on number one, feeling safe to express our needs. Number two, feeling safe to express our emotions. And number three, trusting that we are not too much when we do that and that it is okay to drop into that very powerful feminine energy and allow these things to be expressed. Okay. And when we do that, we free up this part of our body where that armor typically lives, and we can breathe easier. We can feel more energized. We can feel more connected. We are opening to the world through love. And instead of setting boundaries through anger and shame and guilt and shutting ourselves down, we set boundaries through compassionate, loving frequency, meaning that we see what other people are going through and we have compassion for them and we can still set boundaries and not take it on and not make it personal. And that's how we develop emotional intimacy. That's how we get here. Okay. That's how we get to that next round of healing on the planet. And as all these women are showing up, and as I'm doing this work myself, this is so mired in our nervous system. I'm watching people show up and they've got all this armor on, and the nervous system is just in this fight mode. And when the armor kind of falls away, the nervous system in the body says, oh, maybe I don't need to be in fight mode. Maybe I'm not in battle, right? Maybe it's safe for me to take a deep breath. Maybe it's safe for me to slow down. And so then we have this release of all of these false productivity programs that make us feel like we need to constantly be creating and be doing and be busy, which is really just a trauma response to us not feeling safe to be in our feminine energy because of all the systems on the planet that and the way they've been created. And when that breaks down, then we have this deep sense of calm, this deep sense of peace, this deep sense of connection to nature and to those around us, and this feeling of, I'm okay, right? I am deeply okay. And that is the anchoring of the divine feminine, right? That is the result of this whole progression of releasing all these energies and then opening our hearts again, even if we've been betrayed in the past, even if we have shame and we feel like it makes us too vulnerable when we're heart open or we're weak or whatever those stories are, we can move beyond that and we can open up anyways. Then we have the true anchoring of the divine feminine. And then when that divine feminine energy anchors and it is flowing through our being without fear and we feel unconditionally supported in that feminine energy, we then can amplify our masculine energy, which holds the sacred container for that. And when that happens, we have a new sense of accomplishment and an ability to get things done in a way that feels easeful and a way that feels like we're just flowing through life and we are co-creating with all of the energies around us and we feel at one. Okay. And so that's why it's important if you have these programs coming up right now of not feeling safe and not feeling secure in your body, that you are taking the time to be with that fear and you are taking the time to release that fear. And the best way, honestly, to release that fear is to have somebody hold space for you, even if it's just a friend, where you speak about those fears. And it needs to be a person who creates safety for you, not a person who maybe makes you feel unseen or unsafe, right? You need to pick somebody that you feel emotionally safe around to do that work. And if you don't have someone in your life that's a friend or a family member that can hold that compassionate space for you, then you need to find a practitioner that can do that for you. Because walking around armored up and in battle with life is making you sick, right? It's making you emotionally sick. It's making you physically sick. It's been interesting as I have been working with this and clearing this energy, how my body has been healing so rapidly. I, of course, have been supporting it and doing all these alternative therapies and getting information, but it is always the emotional release that is the key to the physical healing for me. And I know that I'm not unique in that. I have a realization that I'm much more in tune with my body and the link between the emotions and my physicality than most people. But that doesn't mean that isn't present for other people. But when they're armored up and they're suppressing or shaming themselves for having these emotions, they're not able to process them. They're not able to fully express them. They're not feeling safe in their body, and then their body doesn't feel well, right? Their body can't heal. There isn't any flow in their center channel. And when there's no flow in your center channel, you can't heal, right? You can't get better. So, this is really important work that we're doing right now, my friends. And you may feel like you are a different person after this eclipse. I have been trying to describe that to people, and I don't know that I can really do it justice because I don't feel like the same person that I was a few weeks ago. And I also don't know that I've fully anchored into who the new person is yet. I think that's still a work in progress, as it maybe always will be to some extent. But I can feel that, like, part of me, when I went through my grief during the eclipse, part of me died. And it was the part of me that was not feeling safe to be who she is and to express herself in her natural way of being, right? It was the part of me that was afraid that my emotions were too big and I was ashamed of my gifts. There're just so many aspects of me that are no longer my truth, that I am lovingly leaving behind as I walk forward into this new beginning. And it's a little bit scary because I can also feel that my work is shifting again. This whole idea of emotional intimacy and building bridges between men and women is starting to come into my work. And there's this deep desire to do that with couples and to do that with groups of people and let them feel what I'm experiencing in my body, and all in divine timing. It's going to happen, all in divine timing. And so, one of the other themes that we have right now is being patient, right? Because when you have shed something major and you're stepping into something new, patience is very much required because it takes a while when these big downloads and these big shifts come in for them to be fully integrated in the physical reality, in the physical body, and in the physical reality around you. So don't be shocked if you're feeling a little bit impatient and having to be more patient as we are integrating through the rest of May. And I am hopeful, I hope you all too are too, that as these divine feminine codes that are now more readily available to us, and this feeling of safety and emotional intimacy is more readily available to us, that we're going to start to anchor that as a collective, and some of the wounds of separation that have gotten, I think, even louder in the last few years can start to heal. And that's really what it is. It's the healing of the separation energy, right? So everything that we're doing with the masculine and feminine energies in our own being, releasing that separation, bringing sacred union to those energies, gets reflected in the world around us. It's a gust of wind from Mother Earth with that as a truth, hopefully. So I appreciate you all. I thank you for listening and watching. I love you all. I hope that this video finds you well and that you are taking something from this and that it's maybe helping you make sense of some of the changes and shifts that are happening for you in your life. And please comment and let me know how it lands. And I'll see you in a couple weeks after I get back from Costa Rica. All right. Bye, everybody.